All right, so I'll say.
We actually have been meaning to get better at introductions.
Right.
So this could be a perfect...
Today's guest is Jeff Specs.
Well, really, there's nothing to me at all except the fact that I'm like pretty good at art or whatever. Like,
It's good. It's good.
what else is there to?
Well,
really
you're one
about?
of our best friends in the
That's
whole
true.
world. We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah,
Playground
you're right.
days.
Hey,
We
cool.
Playground
met in
days.
6th grade. Do you actually
got some
remember?
stuff-
I remember the first time we talked. Do you remember?
Yeah. What about like Alyssa?
Yeah. My girlfriend, Alyssa, broke up for me.
Very nice
Broke
girl.
up with me. Very nice girl.
I didn't even know
Lost
that
my
you
game.
were like boyfriend and girlfriend.
Well,
You guys
we
are
were
a cute
like
couple. I like that, though.
It was the most like childish relationship because we were
like
like
me and Zach
boyfriend and
Barr.
girlfriend, like from 2nd grade through 6th grade. But it was like we never hung out. I would like avoid her because I was scared, like. But we were like boyfriend and girlfriend. So then in
Yeah,
6th grade,
that's cute.
she was like, "I'm breaking up with you," and I was like, "Ah." She's like,
She needed
and then,
to focus on her academics,
Well, no,
Yeah, I
she
don't
needed
know.
to focus on this sexy curly-haired Jeffrey
Ooh.
Speckles from the rival school when
did not even
when the middle
realize.
school when the elementary schools merged, and then Jeff came up to me at my locker, was like, "Hey man, like like are we cool?" or something like that, and I was like, "Dude, it's cool." But that was the first I think conversation we had.
This is funny
That's so
because I
funny.
didn't realize that it was recording, and I was like, Paul all of a sudden like sounds like a podcaster while we're talking. And I was like,
Am
oh,
I
shit.
talking weird? I feel like I do, but like
you're
JC
not.
and everyone makes fun of me, like, "Oh, you're using your YouTube voice."
No,
And,
it's
like,
because, like you said, we've known each other so long. I can just like Christine could probably just look at you and know what you're thinking. It's like it's a little bit of that, maybe like the brotherly friendship connection.
yeah, for
true.
sure.
No, but I think you do a good job, like staying close to the mic. Like for the production tricks,
Sure.
You
But
know
But
what you're supposed to do. It's hard to turn that off.
scheming about self-promoting, I didn't know that was being recorded. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, the show begins.
It
I
would have
should have
come
been
out one way or
recording.
another.
Should have
Yeah.
given me a heads up about that one.
Wait, also,
You
Paul
are
just,
being
like-
recorded, in case you don't know. Wait,
Paul
let me make
makes
sure
us-
this is recording.
Okay. it
Go ahead,
says-
you can talk.
Oh well,
It says
it's
recording for
but
me.
that's a different. He's got so many cameras in here, you don't even know what's going on. But Paul's like so sweet. He remembers like the conversations, like the first moment he meets people. It sets you up for failure because I'm not like an elephant with my memory over here. You
True,
are
I remember
just
the
a-
first time I saw you, or like the
Whew.
first time I remember seeing you, at least. Maybe it wasn't, but the first time you talked to me, I remember.
Yeah,
That's
well,
so cute.
I remember the thing with coming up to you in the hallway. I don't even know if you guys were dating when you're that age. Being in a like dating is very kind of abstract. Like maybe you just kind of have a crush on someone, and they have a crush on you. So to me, that was like a thing. You guys like had a crush on each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she was kind of cute, and I was like, hey, like I think she's cute. Like
She
is that
was
cool?
cute. I used to go play Barbies at her house sometimes. Her family was really nice. And she had like all of her mom's vintage Barbie dresses and clothes. And I loved playing there because it was like, I had all the new Barbies, but hers were like,
She had the classics.
she had like the little Barbie with the roll up hair and just so many cute little outfits. I loved it.
She was cool, man. I should have never let her go. I'm just kidding.
Makes me think of when Paul was dressed as a Barbie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen those, right? I'm sure. My
Yeah,
mom
the
brought that
pink
up.
dress,
For
long
the
hair.
listeners, our neighbors. I mean, like I said, I'm such a ham. Anything for like attention or whatever. So the neighbors were like, "Hey, we're having a Barbie themed birthday party for the youngest, and so will you come over?" I had long hair at the time. Will you come over dressed as Barbie in a dress? And so I was like, yes, of course. You have to pay me
Naturally.
$20, and they obliged. And so, but I would have done it for free. But and then I get there, and like the girl who's my neighbor, she knows obviously it's me, but all her little like 5-year-old friends like think I'm Barbie. Like I sit down on the couch, and they're like scooting up next to me and like looking at me. And like the little girl, like my neighbor's like, it's Paul. And they're not even hearing her. Like they're just like infatuated that like Barbie was there. I mean,
No.
I was hot.
I have to ask,
believe
were
it.
you barefoot at the time? Because you've also had a barefoot period around the same time period.
A
So I wonder if
period.
you were a barefoot Barbie.
It's been a lifetime.
It's a good question.
Period. It doesn't
We'd have to
end.
check the tape. I might have tried some heels on. I
I
might have been
feel like
rocking
there
some
were
heels.
heels on in the picture, but I don't remember for sure.
But I think I wore my mom's prom dress.
Epic.
So anyway, and I had the lipstick and
Your Alyssa was my Zach bar. And my dad used
Mm.
to tease me about it. And he'd be like, you can go eat a Zach bar, and like make him sound like a candy bar. Talk about all these candy bars and then a Zach
so
bar.
funny.
It's so
I love
dorky.
Zach Barr. Shout out to Zach Barr.
He's a really talented artist too. He's made like some zines in the past, but like
and
mainly
he's been
just
doing
like
animation, like that thing
Yeah.
he animated of you.
Yeah, he's made his own animations, I think, and
super cool.
yeah, maybe he'll. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what else he puts out.
Didn't
Yeah.
you
I
say
wonder
you
if we
guys
have to, like,
collaborated
bleep.
on something recently?
We were talking about doing. He made a GIF or a GIF, however you
yeah, that's
pronounce
right.
that, of a drawing that I made, and we were talking about doing maybe a couple of those, which sounds pretty fun. And
Yeah,
it's a
was that like time
privilege.
consuming, do you think, for him? Or he could
Well,
like knock
what was
that out
that?
pretty. Do you think that was time consuming for him? Or
We talked about it. Just that really short thing that I sent you took him like 4 to 5 hours. So
Wow.
it's really tedious. And
Yeah.
I would love to be empowered with the ability to animate. But I just know that I don't have the discipline to do the frame by frame kind of stuff. And
I mean, you
I
did
don't
that
know.
for your stop motion videos.
computers scare me. Yeah. See, but I was with somebody who is kind of helping engineer the whole thing. When it comes to the actual technical side of stuff, yeah, like moving clay around is one thing, but actually like putting all the frames together and then like just kind of editing it and stuff, I'm pretty, don't really know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have some chops with that kind of stuff, I bet.
I could do it a little. It's like I do the bare minimum type of effects, but I've figured out sometimes like how to make those work in a cool way. But it's like I only know how to move things and crop things. So if I was doing something like what Zach did, I would, I could do something similar. It wouldn't look nearly as good though. But I can do sort of stuff like that. But I'm not like a technically skilled editor. Like I didn't go to film school. I just kind of like I have a good eye for stuff. Like I know kind of how it should feel. But when people are like, "What frame rate are you doing?" and like what kind of like I never really know that kind of stuff as well.
Well,
I'm
shout
sure
out
it's
to
a
my
little bit.
sister. She's been like letting me use her Canva Pro account, and there's actually you might want to play around with it a little. It's the favorite thing that I can do with it is like easily eliminate the background of an image. And so you could put like any drawing you have essentially in there with like a white background, eliminate the background, overlay it onto some other crazy scene, and like build and layer that way. And it's pretty easy.
Sounds
I'm
cool.
doing that a lot.
For sure. Yeah.
But the art you make, you do these really intricate sketches and things. Maybe I'll put a link in the description.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And you do some
I
great.
wasn't trying to put you on the hot seat about like
Oh
promoting.
no,
me, but
we're
I'll
putting
take
a
it.
link.
I mean,
We're putting a link in.
our guest. Like our whole purpose of this is to talk about you.
Well,
Are you so? I know. I mean, you go in phases, right? I remember when we were kids, it would be these like kind of goofy sketches, but then they got like really intricate and good, and then you started painting a lot. Like, what are you kind of into right now?
it's a really good. I appreciate the question. So I just recently got a art studio for painting set up because I have a cat and I used to work in the middle of my kitchen, like have paintings that were live and had like puddles of things that were drying and stuff. But anyway, it's kind of hard to paint when you've got a cat around. Like he's worst case scenario has happened where he brushes his tail into the paint and it's literally becomes just like a giant paintbrush of oil paint on my cat. It's a nightmare. I had
It's
to
like a paintbrush walking around with a mind of its own.
I saved the day. I had to give him a little quick haircut or something. But anyways, I have a place to
That's
paint
amazing.
and it feels different having somewhere to go when you paint.
Oh, so like you're renting a space outside of your house.
Yeah, there's this art gallery. Shout out to Happy Gallery in Humboldt Park in Chicago. But I'm just kidding around, sort of. I don't think anyone gives a shit.
To all
about
the
promoting
listeners
the
out
gallery.
there.
To all
But,
6 of you, go check it
anyway,
out.
Yeah, part of how they pay the rent is that the back half of it is art studios, and every time I've been there, no one else has been there. I've just kind of had the space to myself. I'm listening to audiobooks and painting, and I have like 7 paintings going right now. I can't finish anything. I just keep starting things.
I relate to
But
that.
I have a drawing that's going on that is what I'm a lot more comfortable with, and that's pretty close to being finished. So yeah, I guess I'm drawing and painting right now.
When you're doing like one of these big, intricate things, because I mean, I've seen you do like something like this big or bigger, and like you look, like you could look just at that big, and like that's something interesting. How many hours are you putting into something like that?
So sometimes people are surprised at how little time it takes. But well, no, I mean it doesn't.
Like
It
20
takes
minutes.
it takes a lot of time, but sometimes people think it takes more time than it actually does. But a big part of it is having the kind of drive to work your butt off to where your like arm hurts while you're drawing it, and that comes, I think, from the force of like the final product. If I can see that it's going to be something really awesome once I fill in all the space, then I get a lot more excited about it. But sometimes I sit and kind of battle the work and just look at it and walk away. And, this happens over a period of like half a year, maybe, with something where I'm just kind of like, don't know what to do with it.
Sure.
And that's something I'm starting to try to harness more, is the discipline of premeditating what I'm working on. And certainly with painting, that's happening more now. Like I have like sticky notes around with like ideas about what I'm working on. And this drawing I'm working on, that's happening with too. So I'm excited about something, but I have all this other stuff with tons of work put in, but I'm not happy about it at all because I don't know what's going to ever happen to it. There's a lot of failure in the work when you don't think about it beforehand.
Well,
Yeah, but I mean, well, I make music very similarly. I mean, I just start and I just make something, and if it sucks, I move on to something else. If it's good, I don't release it for 4 years, but enjoy it in my car. I'm starting to try and release music. That's like been my flaw, is like I don't release enough. But I mean, I think it's like you have to be willing to make a shitty painting to make a good painting. Same with a song. Same with it's kind of anything. Like you have to be willing to do a bad job to ever be able to do a good job, I think.
yeah, and I think just also remember too, like what you think is a failure of a painting could be somebody else's favorite thing,
Yeah, also there's that line between shitty and good that when I started painting, I was trying to walk that line. It's like, that's how I got comfortable. Like, wait, I can paint too. Maybe that happened with you, Paul. Like me and you like used to paint together, and you saw how I just like make a mess, and you're like, yeah, dude, like anyone can paint. And that's the way I approach painting. But it's that finding something good in it part that is the fun part, but the hard part. So I don't know.
If there's any one person that I would give credit to for the fact that I draw or paint or anything, it would be you. Like, that's the first time I really painted was hanging out with you. And
Yeah,
I
we used
love
to have
painting.
art sessions too. I would trek over all the way from like Riverwoods to Highland Park and come paint and draw and hang out.
Yeah, you were always like the like come over and make art, whereas like most people's like come
the
over
best
and like
thing.
we'll play Halo or like something, but like your environment was always really creative. When was it even like that, like before we met you, like in elementary school? Would you be like sitting around drawing, or would you be like playing soccer or something?
Yeah, well, that's an honor to have, and I think you've told me that before, but it's always feels really special to have kind of impacted someone artistically to like get into it, because I think it's like it feels good to do. Your whole room's like covered in it and shit. It's like it's a cool thing to do. Christine, you've been getting pretty deep into some visual art as well.
I have,
But
yeah.
to answer your question, it kind of, I used to draw weird little characters, Mr. Fly, who I used to draw on my desk in school. But there's also this book I have by Brian Froud. Shout out to Brian Froud. He did the character design for The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. And anyway, he has a book where he just drew a bunch of whimsical kind of fairy type creatures in an adult type of way. It's like sci-fi almost at that point. And I was inspired by that as a kid. I would try to copy stuff from that. But also like the Bulls logo, the Chicago Bulls, just drawing like the Bulls.
I would draw that too, actually. We would like Adam was a lot more artistic than me actually, but we would try and draw the Bulls logo.
So that was a big starting point, was the Bulls logo, I think.
That's so
I
funny.
mean, 90s, the Bulls in the 90s when we were growing up was the creme de the creme.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah. It's so funny thinking back. Like Michael Jordan was like, might as well have been Superman or like Jesus. Like, it's just so crazy. Did you watch that Last Dance?
I did, yeah.
So good. Did you see it?
I don't think I'd ever watched it.
You would know if you watched it. It's so
I watched
good.
like part of it. I think I stopped though.
You can see the Deerfield water tower in it, I think, because it's near the where the Bulls were practiced. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right by Brickyards. That park was fun.
Yep. That's where the circus was. The Circus. That's where that came from.
I never even knew the circus came to town.
It was
people
senior
were
year.
protesting that.
Yeah, people were against it.
I was not paying attention.
I'm kind of anti circuses with animals.
Circus.
But we went, me and Jordan and Kendra. I wonder if I have to bleep these people. Like, we're dropping so many names. But anyway.
You might get sued by,
I might get sued by the Huffman estate. But we went, and the guy came out, and the ringleader was just like, "Welcome to the Circus." And like, we were like, why is he talking like that?
Last month, gosh, it was like, I just feel like the clowns are coming at me. I've worked a circus now the last 3 years in a row, all of January. It's so consuming. And then we're hanging out with Steve, who's like a total clown, literally graduated from clown college. And then, I don't know, there was something. Oh, then there was, you were hanging out with Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, then Steve got the Insane Clown
then
Posse
the tattoo came.
Uh-huh.
It was just like clowns, everybody throwing clowns at me.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, you still have family. Does your dad live in the Chicagoland area, Christine, still?
No, he hasn't lived there for 10, I don't know.
Well, Paul, you do.
Years.
So if you end up back in, this isn't going to probably happen anytime soon, but Baraboo, Wisconsin is only like, maybe like a 4-hour drive or something. And that's where the Ringling Brothers are from. Mm. And it's really scenic out there. It's where Devil's Lake is, if you've heard of it. But there's just these rolling just hills with trees. And, it's just a lot prettier out there than, in terms of nature. But
yep.
There's like a circus museum and all this out there. I'm not super into the animal cruelty. Obviously, I'm not down with that. Yeah, but there is something kind of spooky and interesting and artistic about the history of circuses. Mm-hmm. There's some show I forgot. I think it might be a Ken Burns show about circuses. I don't know. There's a lot of like panning in and zooming in real slow.
Sure, right.
And one thing that I watched part of this series, and they talk about how some people, like the first time they ever saw electricity was because a circus came to town. Like had a lit up thing and just
wow.
That's cool. The theatrics of it all.
Vehicle for kind of culture or stuff like that.
And I love the history, tangled
crazy.
up with the misfits and like the odd. I mean, obviously, it's not right to like ridicule people for their differences, but it also
the circus sort of celebrates it.
It does. It gives the freaks and geeks a place to shine.
Now, I think there's some dark history there too. There's a lot of there's stuff with race and things like putting somebody who's indigenous from another country like as like a sideshow kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's awful.
There's some weird stuff with the history of circuses, but there's also a lot of really interesting kind of stuff too, spectacle, if you will.
Yeah,
well, and what
I
you were saying about the
romanticized view of it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's good and it's bad. But like you were saying with the like electricity coming to town, like, the world now, it's so connected, like culture just kind of is melding into one, like global culture, like it's all coming together. But back in the day, unless something came through, like there's no there's not even a phone or something, like bringing, like, linking everything together. So something like a circus probably changed a lot about like the world, like a
Yeah,
circus coming to
no
your town would blow your
internet.
mind.
Well, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the World Fair in Chicago. I guess it wasn't completely a circus, but that was like, I think, had kind of
That was big
instrumental
though, yeah.
influence far and wide too.
That was the first time a lot of people saw electricity. That was Tesla's, like, you know about that, right? Like, Nikola Tesla mastered the alternating current, and they used it at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, and like lit up the whole like arena or the whole area. And that was like the first time anyone really, or a lot of people, saw like electricity really used in an impressive way like that.
That's so cool. I was flipping
is
through
cool.
talking about mixed media. Like, I've been craving some collaging, but I haven't done it in a while. And so last night I was looking through this like scientific and invention anthology of American history and like finding all these old illustrations and like instruction manuals and crazy things from like old machinery and all this stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I have a real interest in ephemera, which
What's that?
I think the definition of that word is something like stuff that's kind of meant to not like material that's meant to die, sort of like garbage, sort of. Like an ad for something, just
Okay.
or a newspaper clipping,
Sure.
something for something, just random paper from the past, stuff like that. Like I think even photography sort of becomes that almost in a way when it just accumulates over like 100 years. But it's cool to think of your interest in collage, Christine, and how you can incorporate actual history into it.
Yeah, I like that part of it. And I don't know, it's just interesting pulling images from all over. It's like this fun little game. I like it a lot.
So back to you, Mr. Specs. So
Oh, wait, but I want to actually,
Yeah.
I've been meaning to sit and talk about the photographs you've been collecting. Speaking of all these vintage and antique things.
yeah, you sent us a few.
Like I'm
Are you still
curious
collecting
if
those?
I know you're still collecting because a collector never stops. I could relate to that. You're always going to be like looking for these antique old photographs. And then there was another one you were getting that was even for like the older cameras.
So I have I used to only collect like snapshot photographs, which the date on those I think kind of ranges from like the early 1900s to the ones that I would collect would go from then to like I'm not really interested in anything past like the early 50s. Like I like old pictures. There's something about some of the way they're developed where they're like silvering, kind of shiny, like old developed photos. I don't know. They're just cool. And they feel sort of ghostly in a way, but when you can catch something that's actually unique, I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've through this pandemic, I've found that like every type of photo medium is interesting to me. So there's different types of photographs, like tin types, which are from like, I think the
love
late
those.
1800s is when
They're so beautiful.
yeah.
Those
and
are really metallic too, actually.
they're
usually.
on metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're, I don't know what,
Content.
what the metal's made of, but
It's all connecting right now.
it's like on tin. Yeah. Let me grab my favorite. I'll grab one.
Oh, yeah,
real quick.
Please,
please.
yeah. Show
Please.
and tell.
Yeah, I think
Shut me up.
like I think you can still buy the cameras to take those photos.
Oh yeah, you sure can. I have like a vendor that drives down from Flagstaff that I used to work with when I was coordinating those markets in Tucson, and he would like set it up, and it was a big hit. He would charge $75 for like I think an 8x10 or maybe even a 5x7.
Nice.
It's expensive. It takes a while.
So
but they
these
were
are
so
like
cool.
really small. That's the technology must have improved a lot. You know what I mean? So you'll see these typically pretty small.
So what
But
do we
this one
got
I
there?
really like because when you look at these old photos from like they're from the late 1800s, a lot of them are like so straight faced. And I think it's maybe because of like, I don't know if it's cost related or what. Like, but
Isn't it
people are,
because
like,
they had to sit for like a long time for the photograph to be taken?
they're typically in studios. This is in a studio. they're usually indoors and not outdoors. So they are set up like you would, get in your overalls in the early 90s with your family and your dogs and take a picture. But so that's why this is rare, because they're actually smiling, some of them. So that's why I picked
These are like the first people that smiled. Like they invented like smiling for pictures. Oh, it's
I don't know if I can get it
like
oh my
goofy
gosh.
too.
Do you realize they're like all standing head over head, like in the rungs of ladders? And we've like taken that picture, Erica, Jillian, and I. Like Erica's like, now in a line. We all just,
Right. That's so funny. That's cool. So that's from the late 1800s, that photo?
Yeah, and I'll just show you one more for fun, because what I like about these as an artist a lot of times has to do with like the backdrops and things, or the creativity that goes into it. Like this was at like some kind of carnival or something, and it's like three guys just standing behind a tarp that's painted so it looks like they're in a flying machine, but they're just like, and it's kind of obvious when you have a better view of it, like how
That's
kind of
amazing.
crappily it's done. And I like that.
I love it. It's like such a cool little fantasy world, glimpsing into it, especially the older and like further removed we get from that time. It's pretty cool.
I wonder if back then it just didn't occur to people like to smile in a photo. Like, why do we smile in a photo? Like, you got to look happy for it to take a photo, Like, if someone was like, smile, they're probably like, why would I smile? Like, just
like
take the photo. This is what I look like,
Yeah, I'm the king of just look. I think at the beginning of this, I don't know if you were recording or not, because
we weren't. I should have been recording right when we started. I'm never gonna make that mistake.
You were
again.
making me tea. I should have made my own tea.
A lot of my pictures as a child, I'm like intentionally have my eyes closed, or I'm like looking like just ruining the photo somehow.
Yeah, we did a family vacation to Canada, and every photo, right at the last second, I would go. And so there's just every photo from that whole trip is just. I get a kick out of ruining photos and ruining.
This is why I have like 2 photos with Paul.
I don't know what that is. I think it's just rebellion,
Yeah, it's probably true. You don't like to be told what to do. You're like, nope, I won't smile.
Yeah, I'll ruin it.
I'm going to play it like I'm in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so you asked me about my projects and stuff, and
yeah.
I guess what I will say is the most exciting thing coming up is this 4-legged creature. So keep your eyes peeled.
So this is a clay boy, or this is a painting?
It's a drawing, and it's this character has kind of silly, very childish legs. Like it looks like or childlike drawings. It seems like it's out of a children's book or something, but then you look really close and it's really deeply detailed, like you mentioned. Sick. But anyway, so that's my big thing, but I know you've got something on the horizon as well. Perhaps I don't know if it's under the radar. Maybe I shouldn't even mention it.
No, we can mention it. Are you talking about our Argentina album?
Yeah, your album.
Yeah, we've been making our album in Argentina, and it's close to done, and therefore close to coming out. We had like a phone call the other night with the producer and his family, because like we just all love each other so much now. So, and Christine was there, and JC was in the call. But anyway, he brought up a good point, because like, I don't know, we come up short with like follow through, like the finish line. Like we make good music. I'll even mix it sometimes, but I never put it out. I never promote it. I don't do anything with it. And he really like gave us a pep talk, like this needs to happen, and it needs to happen fast. Like don't sit on this, like put it out before it gets old and stale, before you convince yourself it's not good. Like, before you like make something that you like better. So you're like, why would I put out the old stuff? So it's like, anyway, as soon as it's done, we're just putting it out.
It was great advice, and it was like so kindly delivered too, because everybody was just like went around. It was like Thanksgiving meal, like everyone went around and said their favorite song, and like I don't know, just they meant it so wholeheartly.
So anyway, yeah, we're gearing up,
which it is awesome. Which
you so sent exciting. It. I haven't listened to it yet. I've been waiting for the right moment, but I hung out with Jordan Lipschutz. Shout out to Jordan Lipschutz.
Big JJ.
Another blurb in here.
He had some honest feedback to me about how he really didn't like. No, I'm just kidding. He thought it was excellent.
You got me there.
He told me very straight faced. He was really impressed with what he was listening to. So I'm looking forward to hearing it.
It's really incredible. But yeah, that is good advice. It's so easy to get like worried about what you're putting out there, and like it's vulnerable to have anything go out there, because out there it gets like critiqued or judged or consumed or just seen. It's like it
also
is
like
vulnerable. It's like the definition of vulnerability.
everything
honestly.
is a work in progress until you release it. Once you release it, it's done. And I think I also have this like, maybe you can relate, Jeff, but it's this like fear of like, then I can't change it, or then I can't fix it, or like once it's out. Because you have an interesting philosophy about releasing stuff. Like I've talked to you before where you're like, if like 20 years after I'm dead, someone discovers all of this, like that'll be cool. You know, like, I mean, I know, well, do you still feel that way? Or is it more like, let's do this now?
You know, what's a really major thing that's changed about my philosophy about my artwork during the pandemic too, I think, because the way that galleries have kind of closed and just the gallery format has become less important for everybody right now because physically no one's really going anywhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I care more about people seeing it than like getting big bucks from like one person in particular who thinks it's cool, you know. So I would like to reach a larger audience through maybe like a book format or something like that. So yeah, no, but the purpose of why I started making art in general, I think, is about kind of leaving an essence of myself but also whatever impression I can leave on the world as well that's
Mm-hmm.
unique to myself,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't meant to be I'm trying to not be like say bad words and stuff.
You
It's
can
not
say whatever
supposed
the
to be like
fuck
a
you want.
masturbatory type of thing. Like it's not about like me just like trying to it's just kind of
Not
like
our
the
ego.
only sense of purpose that I can kind of see in certain ways is to add something new to the world, the universe or whatever, and to have it be kind of looked at and enjoyed. You know, I don't really know how
Yeah,
else
it's like it's
people
such a
do that
great
through
source of
building things.
connection, honestly. You know, it really is. It's like connecting you to humanity when you get this like interaction that you wouldn't have had because it creates, you know, an emotional response from whoever gets to see it. It's cool.
I've talked about this.
It can span a century, like, or
Yeah,
2 centuries.
absolutely.
You can communicate with somebody 200 years from now with your
Like that photo you held up. It's like,
yeah, I guess, but or like Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. You know, like I'm the next Leonardo da Vinci is what I'm
There
trying
you
to say.
go.
right. Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but it's sort of like us coping with our own mortality. Like we will die, but like your art will be around forever. Like my music will be around
If
forever.
you put it out.
If you put it out.
If you go on and hit the button and put it out,
Yeah,
it will
and
be
actually,
around forever.
Yes.
This never mattered that much to me until I almost died. And then I was thinking like, what, like, no, there's no, you know, had I died, there's no like, there's no like album to point to, because I hadn't even put out an album, you know, at that time. So like, there's no album, there's no like book, there's nothing. It would just be like Paul was a nice guy, like at the eulogy or something.
Yeah, but our worth
But,
is
like,
not what we've accomplished.
I know. So I was surprised that
I
it
mean, maybe it
mattered
is.
that much to me, but it really did. It really mattered a lot to me. And then since then, I've been kind of more like, I don't know, because it feels like an ego tickle. It's like, oh, I just want to put out music so I can be famous, so people
You
love
already
me,
said
so
you
I
were
get
a ham.
attention.
Haven't you accepted that?
Well, I have now, but I think I was fighting that. You know, like I felt like it's like so self-serving. Like, oh, I want to put out my music so people like love me or whatever. You know.
See, for me, it's like I share. I don't know. It's a different reason why I don't want to share. I'm like, oh, then people have like, I don't know. You say things on these podcasts like you have to be informed and like people can hold you against. They just have something to hold against you. They have something
fuck
to
'em.
judge you about,
Hold
and
it.
that makes me nervous.
Hold it, judge it. Do
I
your
don't.
thing.
I don't like that. I don't really want. I don't know. I don't like that. But it's so nice when, you know, it makes an impact on somebody, and that part is the part that appeals to me. Like,
I think it can change over time. So, and myself I'm a good example of that. I was in on a trip. I studied abroad, and this artist.
Where about?
It was in Spain, and I was very fortunate to be able to do that. And there was an artist who met up with my art I was studying art there, and there was a pretty well-known artist who knew someone in my study group who like met up with our group and kind of was on the trip with us in a way. And he's shown in top galleries and whatnot. I'm not going to say his name, but we got into
One more
we,
person.
we
you
had
don't
some
have to
drinks and
believe that.
stuff, and we got into some like minor argument about art and like what it's for. And for me at the time, I was saying how it was about like that I don't need to sell it, or to me it's sort of like poetic. It feels really good to be able to express myself and almost make some diary through like visual communication or something,
Mm-hmm.
which is fair. And I think that has its own.
Beautiful, yeah.
So this guy
Very
was being
cathartic.
rude to me, and he told me I was just jerking off. He said to me, and I said I just made a comment a little earlier about masturbatoriness in regard to my art, and I think that
That critique obviously stuck with you a little.
it really did. It did. Over the years, I would have gone back and approached it differently, and I think he had some value in what he was saying, but he shouldn't have been discrediting my stance on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's two ways to approach your art, and that they're both really valid. And Christine, with your work, you're obviously progressing very rapidly. You're trying all types of new things and really and like selling
Thank
it
you.
already.
That's nice.
But
Yeah, I sold
I
my
guess-
first.
Yeah.
I sold 3 pieces of art so far, and I got some in the queue.
It's more than I've sold.
So you may reframe in time your perception of your own work, where, maybe you'll develop a certain level of confidence that you'll realize that the world needs your work.
Yeah, I think that's.
And then
I hope
that'll be
so.
a mission of yours, is to
I hope so.
spread it.
I hope so. I need to just remember that. I would always tell my friends to put out their art and like, just release it, press the button, release it, put it out there. So I need to just do that. Do what I'm preaching.
Yeah, Paul, good for you on releasing more. And
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and now
He's working
also,
so hard. You need to be nice to yourself, because you say you have
I
a
love
hard time
myself.
like getting to the finish line, but you've
Well,
been
I'm-
working like nonstop.
I'm pushing for the finish line now. But also now, this Argentina album sounds so good. It's like so much better than anything I've made by myself, just like the
See,
production
that's
quality. That's true. The
Okay.
production quality of working with Nico and the mix and everything, it's a higher resolution. It's hi-fi.
Absolutely.
And so now I'm in this point, I feel like, once I put that out, everything I've made over the past 5 years that I haven't put out becomes sort of irrelevant almost. Or like if I put it out after this album, it'll feel like a step backwards. So now I'm in this rush to like get as much of my old music out quickly before I put out my new stuff.
This is why I never see him
it's
anymore.
all. I've been busy, but anyway, it's all coming, and that is you on Spotify. Check it out. But yeah, with the with like making it and the reasons you make things and stuff like that, I think like even if it was not a thing that could ever be sold or could be shared, like I would still make music and you would still make art. Like we make it because we love
Same.
making it. Like
Yeah.
and you as well. It's not
Just-
like we were like I got into it in order to make money. But if it's something you love doing, boy, wouldn't it be great to do it and not have a job and have that be your job? So then you suddenly need to shape your thinking a little to seeing it as a business as well as a hobby. And it's kind of this weird paradox in there, But I think
Yeah,
it's like both
you know-
things are true.
For some people, when it becomes their job, it changes the way they do it. And it can take it from them, sort of. It can take the genuineness out of it. Like being in art school took a level of soul out of what I was doing, I think. And what I'm trying to do is get more in touch with that part of my work again, like the realness of it. In art school, you just learn discipline, I think, or for me, a lot of it was just about like learning how to like
boot
work
camp.
hard or something.
They really
you
make you
glad you went
sharpen
to-
those pencils. Nice and sharp. I need 1 inch points. No,
Are you glad you went to art school?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. I'm glad I wouldn't go to school for anything else. I'll say that.
But when you look back, do you think like, I'm
there's
glad I
other
did
art
that because
schools. I didn't realize I was going to go to art school, and I went to art school. My girlfriend was going to the same school. Maybe I could have, if I knew I was going to study art, maybe I would have picked a school that specialized in it more.
Mhm.
Not that I didn't have a good experience or grow from that, but I do think that I used to be a lot more straight from the head to the paper. That was just, and that's the type of work I'm interested in, is kind of like untrained art, like stuff where it's just pure.
Sure.
Your work is that way, Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Christine,
Paul's is. Mine's more
methodical. Yeah.
methodical.
But with music, you're like that.
But I'm very spontaneous with music.
'cause
Yeah.
You're not, you have no training, so there's no like education to lean on.
Yeah.
I like intuitive kind of work. There's a museum in Chicago called Intuit, and it's intuitive.
I think though, like
outsider art. Yeah.
you could have both. Like you can go to the studio and like assembly line some epic work by doing, like processes. I don't know, like kind of try to find ways to make your art time effective, and then also have those other sessions that are like completely devoted to creativity, like free time, so to speak. And I think that if you can do a balance of like, okay, I'm making these prints and I'm making 20 of them and they're limited edition and like they're all going to be the same, or I don't know, like.
Well, but that would be just copying them, right? You're saying redo it a bunch of times?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's like you outline something 20 times and then you set it, you build it in parts, like you do things efficiently. So whatever it is you're working on, try to figure out how you can do it efficiently so you can do more of it. That's the way you can help kind of like sell
and that's
your
a way of
things
sort
on
of
a larger
approaching
scale.
it. It's not giving in too much to the consumerism. It's not like you're making something that you're not into, but you've just found a way to.
Right, like my lino cuts, I think they're really like work well with that, because once you spent the time carving it, I can still go back and like do a different type of printing on a certain type of paper with those limited edition colors, so you can, reproduce something you've already made.
Yeah, lino cuts are unique in that way.
Which I guess is what I'm kind of like thinking of, but I don't know.
You're
I
the
think
lino cut queen.
If you're like building something with a frame, like. Just building your frame. You know how assembly lines work.
I do know how assembly lines work. But once you said that, though, I don't really necessarily agree.
So, like paint backgrounds.
Christine, wait. You knew that Paul's one of his first jobs, he worked at a toothpaste factory. He used to put the cap on.
Yeah, I got replaced by a robot.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I put the cap on the toothpaste.
He was the cap guy. Yeah, that's an important job. He's the last guy in the line.
Yeah, without that cap, I mean, it'll get to the store and it'll be empty. It'll be a mess.
Oh my gosh, I never knew. That's amazing.
Wait, so when you graduated high school, was the goal I'm going to become an artist, or what was like? What
was that a joke?
When was? Yes.
No. Like, you know what, dude? I just followed my grades were pretty bad, and then my girlfriend at the time was very important to me, and my grades went up. They got better, so I could go to the school she was going to, and I got in, and it was good for me, no matter what. Like, we ended up breaking up, but it was a healthy motivator to just do better. And it was
that was Boulder University.
Yeah, I went to University of Colorado, and anyway, when I was at like orientation, they were like, if you don't choose to be an art major right now, you'll probably never get into any art classes. And that's kind of when I started to think about like, I have to make these decisions.
So was there any plan, like even when you were younger, it was like, Jeff, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what would you say?
No one ever really was, and no one really asked me these things. But I always was an artist, and people, even from when I was a kid with the Chicago Bulls logo, they remember like Jeff was always drawing, and so it was kind of just meant to be in a way. And now I work at a college as an admissions person, and kids tackle that same subject with their parents while I talk to them, and it's interesting because
it's an art college.
I can relate.
There's a school actually, so I'm job hunting, and there was like a job at Pepperdine University as an admission counselor, and I was totally started the application, and then they had like all these disclaimers about how it's a Christian school and you have to be like really excited about, just including Christianity in a curriculum, which is not something I feel passionate about, and it totally made me stop the application. But I'm like, it was really good pay, and the campus is like right in Malibu, like right up on this hill, looking down
Pepperdine
at
is
the
amazing.
ocean. I was like, okay, that seems like a good job to snatch, but it's not. I don't think it's my cup
You
of
backed
tea.
out. What do you believe in God, Jeff?
I love that.
Oh.
Thank you, Bob. It's throwing a question at me. That's a great question. I identify as agnostic. There was a moment when I was on my porch many years ago when I did live in Colorado, and I had been taking classes about like Buddhism, and I don't know, I was just thinking very existentially all the time. And I had this moment where I was like, wait, nothing makes sense. So like God? Since it doesn't make sense and like it won't make sense, like miraculous, like crazy shit must be it. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, I got to that, and that was my brain like scrambled for a minute. I almost like felt like I was gonna like pass out or something when that happened, like really quick. But that was just a momentary happening many years ago, over a decade. Like it was like a decade ago. But I'll never forget that, because that was a moment where like that possibility came into my head, where I was like, well, since nothing makes sense, it must be something completely abstract, like beyond my comprehension, which can equate to like the big God word, even if that's just like a giant cloud that like everything came from or something, even though that the beginning of that cloud makes no sense.
And so there's still...
No, I don't. But I also don't disbelieve in anything, because I don't think that there's really, I don't think that the human brain can comprehend how anything could come from nothing. But that's the only way that anything could exist in the way that we understand existence. And I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson, or I think I pronounced his name properly.
You did.
But he gets into some of this shit too. He's pretty dark on it. He's like, I'm not going to say his views on like when you die and before you die, but it's basically, black and black, just like nothing. And that makes a lot of sense, but I like to think
but it doesn't
more
account for the unexplainable.
Yeah, like way. I like to think about the more abstract kind of side of existence, and like energy distribution, like if you pass away, like what happens with whatever energy is within you or something. And I don't know, it's all crazy. Like we could get into a bizarre conversation that like maybe I don't know if it should be recorded, because we could just go on so many tangents.
Well, it's just like, obviously nobody knows. It's kind of just like your best guess, or your feeling about what's going on. I think anyone who says like I know what's going on, like that's where you lose. That's when you're wrong. But if you're just like I feel like could be this, or if someone's like I think there's a God, but I don't know, I think that's. But I'm kind of more with that. Like I don't believe in God, and I think it's all much. It matters way less than we think. Like it's all very insignificant, everything we do. But the best. But as far as like energy transferring and stuff, the best way I heard it explained was this guy. He was saying it was like I took a meditation class. Like Steve signed me up for it, and it was actually really cool. I thought it was going to be kind of like a bunch of woo and like bullshit, but it was actually really cool. But the way the guy explained it, he's like, think of like just a vast ocean of water, endless ocean of water, endlessly down, endlessly to the sides. And at the top, there's like a, little waves crashing. And your life is just that wave, like dancing and crashing up. But when it goes down, when you die, you just go back to being part of the ocean. Like you just become, just indiscernible from the everything again,
Yeah.
And I like that made the most sense to me. But it's kind of like a an artsy way of saying what
that
Neil
makes
deGrasse
perfect
Tyson was
sense.
saying.
But the question of what God even is, like you said, you don't believe in God, but like one might argue that the ocean as a whole is God, and you're part of that. You're God, Paul.
Well, that's the
You know what I
thing
mean?
too. I
Like,
mean, everyone has their own definition of God. So
Yeah.
it's like, do you believe in God? It's like, well, what do you mean by when you say God? Like, is it a guy like shaking his finger, like keeping score? Like, I for sure don't believe in anybody
No.
keeping score, or like someone you can talk like, we
A deity.
personify everything, and I don't think there's anything like that.
I have like a romanticized obsession with a lot of the deities and like gods and goddesses from
But
different
if you had
eras,
to guess
but I
what's going
really
on,
hate modern. Like I'm uncomfortable with religion.
do you think there's a God?
No. The closest I feel to God is when I'm outside. Like I don't God. Like to me, that's like it's more of an energy. To me, I think of it as like symbiosis in biology. You're a living organism, part of some other living organism, and you come and go, and your body has a very physical role at the end. Like what happens to it? Are you burned and cremated and put literally as ash back into the soil to grow new plants? Like then you're not really dead. You're still, there's fiber, there's particles.
Sure. I mean, no
parts of
matter
you.
what happens, the energy is not, like, matter is not going anywhere. But yeah, if that concept of like we're all one, if that is what God is, then I believe in that. Like this same meditation class, the guy said, you think of the universe as one thing. There's just one, it's a thing. Just kind of like how there's a million like bacteria and microbes and stuff in your body, in your stomach, on your skin, but you're still just Jeff. Like we just call you Jeff, like we don't think of you as the million little individual pieces that put you together. You're just
like
one Jeff.
I'm not like the boogeyman in Nightmare Before Christmas or something where like
No.
made up of little things. Like,
But you kind of are. But you kind of are.
but not to you. I'm Jeff. I'm not a
Yes,
bunch
you're
of little
just
bugs.
Right.
you're not a bunch of little bugs. You're one singular Jeff. And like the universe, it's there's planets, there's people, there's cities, there's galaxies, but it's just all the one thing. And like if that is what people define as God, then but that's not like a believing in
It's
if
like a
it's there
closed
or not
system.
there. It's just like a recognition of like the concept, I guess.
Well, God is bigger than just Christianity, right? Like the concept is about like a
No, it's
higher
not.
being.
Right.
A higher power, right? Like it doesn't
Higher
need to
power is
be
different.
the concept of it being in the form of man or caring about like social construction that of mankind to me is like a complete joke only because
Same. That's the part I'm very
because
uncomfortable with.
the planet Earth has been around only such a fragment of time, like in the history of the universe that we even know about, which we barely know anything about. So I'm not going to go on this rant like I'm freaking super like a genius, but I think
you're not
we
a
know
genius.
that
It's
much,
just
right?
you're thoughtful.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah,
You
like
made other comments I wanted to talk on, but I forgot like half of them. So maybe it'll come up again.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back.
yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't need to. You're the guest. I don't need to talk about my.
Yeah,
no
what do you want to
guess,
talk? Let's
not
talk about
guess,
your
but the
finances and then
conversation.
how about politics after that?
Anyone watching this isn't like tuning in because like the guest Jeff Specs is on.
Yeah,
It's
that's
more
true.
about just like what conversation came on today on this like what kind of bullshit can I listen in on?
Sure. Well, okay.
That's good.
In that
I hope
case-
that's why people are tuning in for some
I
bullshit
think
because that's what
a
I feel like we
podcast
deliver
is.
on.
Yeah.
Let's listen to these people bullshit around and see
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
talking
Shooting
about.
their shit.
We
Well,
need
okay.
another
In that
podcast.
case, I think, like, I've been sort of wrestling with this concept, like everything. Someone at the door.
Hello? Jeff?
Oh, it's Jesse. We have a guest live in the studio. Jeff, give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna hug Jesse.
Okay,
We were
I can't-
babysitting my friend Jesse's dog.
I can't see my. Oh, there I am. I'm just gonna take the reins here, Paul. We'll see you in a bit. No, I'm just-
Yeah. You talk. It's your
Actually,
show.
no, I need a minute to run to my kitchen. So just,
Okay, you
I'll
run to
be-
the kitchen. Maybe we'll even just pause the show. We'll be back.
Come on! Okay, sorry to interrupt your podcast.
Oh, that's okay. Wait. Can you say on the mic? This is Jesse Yarborough. Now, welcome back to, or like something like that. Now back to the show.
I have to say my name?
Say whatever you want.
This is Jay Yarbs. Back to the show. Sorry for the interruption.
So we're gonna cut some of that, huh?
Yeah, probably. I'm not gonna just leave them hanging. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe people would be compelled to just watch us. But I don't know.
Maybe this could just turn into you just leaving the camera on all the time and
24-hour stream. Yeah.
I just watched the Truman Show.
24-hour stream.
Dude, such a good movie, right? The Truman Show.
Truman Show holds
that
up
was good.
for sure.
Wait, let me grab my tea. I made more tea.
Thank you.
Need a new bag?
That's all right. Big tea drinkers over here. Huge tea drinkers.
I got some mugwort tea that was gifted to me by a friend. Apparently, it tastes
mugwort.
not so good, but
What's
it'll
it
make
good
your
for?
dreams. It'll make your dreams lucid.
Nice. I had some really
Give you more
lucid dreams the
control
other
over
day.
your dreams. You had some what
you.
dreams, Christine?
They just I remembered them pretty vividly when I woke up. I wasn't lucid really in them. I just remembered them more than I usually do.
I've been having crazy dreams lately.
I think when you don't smoke a lot of pot, your dreams become more intense.
Yeah. I think that's it. I'm taking the month off of smoking weed
And drinking coffee and eating sugar.
and drinking alcohol
And, oh yeah, alcohol.
I'm pretty.
and prostitutes.
I've stopped drinking a coffee pretty much almost altogether.
Nice.
Yeah,
What's
I've been-
We're picking up
Something, yeah, I hear it too.
like a Wi-Fi thing, like a dial-up signal. Oh, it's gone now.
Do you think my heat
No,
that's
it's not.
making a weird noise?
Maybe.
That happens sometimes. It's making like
No,
a high,
it sounds like a dial-up.
We'll turn off the heat and we'll see.
just
if
a
it
high
stops.
pitch.
Oh, maybe it's that. Yeah, try turning off the heat.
I thought
I
you-
will. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Poor Jeff is freezing in his apartment.
Oh yeah,
with
shit. No, it's
no heat
fucking
allowed.
Chicago.
It's
Maybe I mean you can leave it
17
on. We'll
degrees.
just cut around it or something. If it has to stay
I'm gonna
on,
I'll put on a sweater.
there you go. Costume change.
That helps.
Anyway, we were talking about God and stuff, but we probably covered
Yeah,
it pretty
let's.
good.
I mean, we're no experts here,
Forgot
and
we
even
were
the
there.
experts
Yeah, I
don't
Yeah.
even know.
Can't just snap your fingers and start talking about God again.
Yeah, That ship has sailed. We're
I
on
think
to
we got
dreams.
there, yeah.
We're on to dreams.
So wait, what are you hoping to dream about? You're hoping you just see some crazy things. When you dream, do you see crazy realities? Because I still see people. It's
I
not my
haven't been
dreams aren't
thinking of-
fantasies.
Yeah, mine
You
neither.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't been having pretty vivid dreams for a little while, and I do have a little of that tea, but I haven't been drinking it. It just was.
Oh, it's a tea that helps you have lucid dreams.
Yeah, and I have a little inhaler. It's just a little tube with just oils in it and stuff. And it's supposed to be a little cocktail for lucid dreaming when you smell this odor and kind of get your mind right before bed or something. I had it when I was a little kid and I saw it on eBay and it was $3 and came to me in 2 days. It was pretty, even
That's
if
so
it
awesome.
doesn't do anything and it just makes you think that it does, it's kind of almost worth it. It's
Well, and
$3.
it sounds like it's tied to certain memories. Everybody the sense that's smell. I guess is what I mean. Is one of the strongest senses tied to memory. They say.
But
I would
if he's
say so,
smelling
for sure.
something before lucid dreaming,
Well, if
that's
he
going
had
to
it as
trigger
a
a
kid
memory.
and then he
Oh, he had it as
gets
a
it
kid.
as
I
an
missed that.
adult, you might have this neuropathic link that didn't exist before because the smell triggered it. You know.
Also, meditation in general, if you were to just sit down and be all right, I'm just going to try to get to release my thoughts and just be in a meditative kind of state. Just sitting there and devoting that time to that gives you a newfound kind of perception of yourself while you're meditating, even if you're not really losing yourself from where you're at. Maybe you can hear the creek going still, you're actually there, but you're sitting there giving yourself the time to just reflect on your being or whatever you want to call that, beyond your physical form. and that's kind of cool.
Do you meditate ever?
No, I haven't in a really long time. But I guess what I was brought that up because of the whole, like, if you smell something or you drink a kind of tea and you tell yourself that it's doing something to you, that's kind of like the same thing. It's almost like you're acknowledging a certain part of your thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't believe in
It's like a love potion.
I mean, even to go back to God.
That's a great
They
way to
don't
put
work
it.
probably, but you're putting it out there.
Well,
It's like
funny,
not real, but it happens because you're putting the will into it, sort of.
to go back to God, like people who do believe there's a God keeping score, people who do believe in astrology or like all these things that I think are ridiculous, those people, like they benefit from it. You know, like it's almost like I wish
Of course they do.
I wish I did believe it.
I know,
you know?
I'm
like
jealous. I wish I had that kind of community, that kind of connection to
Or
something.
and yeah,
Faith
just-
sounds
yeah.
nice. I just don't have it.
Yeah, like it's like ignorance is bliss, kind of like the more you're like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and like the more you're kind of thinking about things, you're kind of less prone to be joyful and blissful.
I know. So
Yet I'm
I've
joyful and
arrived.
blissful,
That's
but
how
like
I've,
you know,
well,
those people really do benefit from believing in something that's not real.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been to a church and it was like really happy over there.
Yeah,
I like going
to
to
go
church.
I like to go to churches too, but you know what I found? That when you go to church in another language and you can't understand as much, it's even more enjoyable. Because sometimes it's jarring when you hear something that like you just really don't agree with, and you're like, that's annoying that you've influenced culture so much with like adhering to this, and like I get triggered, you know? But like I've been to a service that was like in French, and it's pretty
It's
cool.
cool. I mean, I like the overall concept of church. I think is fantastic. Like people getting together once a week to sing songs about how grateful they are for their life and like say thank you to whomever
like joy to
for
the
everything
world
they have.
verbiage and messaging. Like
Yeah.
we all like we're let's love everybody messaging.
Yeah,
Sure.
and that's what my upbringing was, that kind of church, because it was like Lutheran. It wasn't Catholic. There was no like, it wasn't a lot of finger shaking. It was more like we should be really, really appreciative and things like that.
See, my stereotype with like Catholicism, it wasn't like the. I mean, yeah, I had Erin went to Catholic school and like wore her uniform, and like when I was really little, like and like that kind of thing. But I never went to Catholic schools ever. But it was more like I just no guidance or anything really there.
You didn't grow up really with any religion, did you, Jeff? Like you never went to synagogue or church, did you?
No, my parents had me. A lot of people I knew were in like Sunday school for Jews. You know, like a Jewish Sunday school. What isn't there? Is there some kind of Sunday school for Christian people, or is
Yeah,
I had
it's
it
just
too.
also Sunday school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I went. I almost felt left out, like because just everyone was like in one or something, and I didn't have a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask actually. At the time, did you feel left out in that way too? Like I don't get one.
No. So I went to I went to a Sunday school class as a little kid, like one time. I guess my mom or dad or someone, they were like, let's let him like check it out or something. And I didn't like it at all, you know? And they were like, all right, cool. You know, we're not like depriving him of anything.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like, we don't like it either, so that's good.
yeah. They let me, if I wanted to be like any religion, I probably could have, you know, I don't think anyone would have steered me one way or another. It just, that was more relevant in my like sphere or something. And
So was anything informing your like religious belief or beliefs of the world and the universe as a kid? Like, did you have like an identity within like a belief of anything, you know, as a kid?
that's a pretty cool question. In terms of like religion, it was just like the holidays, like, you know, Hanukkah, but we had like Passover and Rosh Hashanah, like different, there's kind of ritualistic things tied to it that's fun to practice. Like you have like horseradish on the table for dinner. Like
you were culturally Jewish.
exactly. Yeah. And some of that was really cool. But we also had like a Christmas tree, and there was some really like multi-generational ornaments on it. You know, it's
I would
are
love
both
to
your
see
parents
that.
Jewish?
that's a good question. Like neither of them really were. Neither
But did
of
they
them.
grow up like is both sides of your family Jewish?
My mom's dad's last name was Cohen, and it was changed to
Oh.
Cole due to like immigration, and like there was like danger of having a Jewish name at the time.
He's changed to Cole.
Changed the name. Yeah. So my
How do you
mom's
spell
last name was Cole from Cohen, but my dad, his mom is Jewish, and
Okay.
his father was not. But they they collected like art that had to do with Judaism and stuff like that. Like they cared about the cultural side of it.
Right. Yeah, you had or I would assume you had a lot of encouragement for your art from your family because your grandparents on your dad's side are like art collectors, and then your mom was an incredible artist too, right? Is that correct? Like everyone,
true.
were people encouraging of your art as a kid?
Yeah, my mom definitely. She set up a little table, like a drawing table that I was using, and I remember there was like a moment where she like recognized that what I was doing was kind of like beyond my age or something. And so yeah, I think, and my sister was an artist too when I was little, so I was like really into that stuff. And her friends who were like just like chain wallet wearing like 90s like scary looking like black trench coat kid. These people were like drawing like crazy shit in my sister's sketchbook, and I was just like thought it was really cool, like chains and just like I played like Mortal Kombat, and like they're drawing like skulls and things, and it was just cool. And I don't know where I was coming from, but
No, that's cool
awesome.
though. I never knew that actually about like
my influences as a kid.
Yeah.
My sister was a big one, and also my mom. Like my mom was too. Her art hung around my house, and
She did a lot with charcoals, right? That one that she did. That's so. There's one.
She did a pencil,
pencil
drawing. Yeah, it's this guy playing an upright bass, and it's like a view from kind of below him, and it's just like really kind of a
I'm
weird.
thinking of that like close up of the face.
Oh, that's a pastel.
Right, I thought it was. Yeah.
Oil
That's
pastel.
that's the one that I always remember or think of when I think of her work.
That's right. It's to my
Like
right.
the lights
it
and the
is.
shadow on
and
her
then
face.
up there
It's
on
just amazing.
the right of the
That's it.
screen for us, that's something you made too. Dude, that thing is so amazing. So your mom did that on the left that you
Yeah.
pointed to?
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
Chief Joseph, apparently.
It's amazing.
Like,
And then up the middle, this is from your grandparents' collection, no?
it's just, yeah, it's, I'm not sure who that artist is. I have a book of their stuff, though. They're cool.
Yeah. Was your is your dad artsy? Because his parents are so involved in art, but your dad doesn't come across as an artsy guy to me. But I don't know him that well.
Yeah, not super. I wouldn't call him super artsy.
Like,
No.
did he ever draw or paint or anything? Like, do you have any paintings of
There's
his?
this cool. I do. My dad used to always draw this goofy face with a big smile and big ears, and I've actually mimicked that in my artwork a lot.
Yeah, like the
I have an
smile that
drawing
goes up.
my dad made of that face. I can
Cool.
probably find it if you want.
I would love to see that because I have.
It might take me a second. I'll just try to grab it for you.
That's okay. Yeah, please do.
We'll be here.
Yeah, we'll be here. That's so cool. And then I just found out your dad paints too. Oh, well, that was quick. Oh no, you got to find through it.
Yeah,
Check
my
it.
dad
Oh,
paints.
I
It's
got
cool.
it.
Wow.
Whoa,
Look
flipped
at
right
this.
to it.
Wow, dude,
There's a couple. There's like two.
Nice.
that looks like you make shit just like that. Especially the first one you showed.
Wow.
Wow.
I like the second one.
Well, I've
more
copied
of
the
that
big
influence.
ears and like thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I
is
never.
Cool. It reminds me of like some of the clay sculptures too, those little animals.
Here,
That
I'll
Jeff
show you
makes.
this for fun really quick.
Wow, dude, I never knew that. That's cool. This is why I like this podcast because like I've known Jeff forever. I feel like I know him through and through. But like,
yeah.
but you never interview your friend, you know? You like, Yeah, like there
Yeah,
you go.
that one's awesome.
So this now for the viewer, this is what Jeff made there in the frame, and then that's what his dad. So when did your dad draw that? Is that like high school age?
No, so I drew this. I always remembered those doodles, and I asked him. I'm like, "Yo, remember those big ear to that thing that you drew? That's like the only thing you would draw. Like my Mr. Fly was like my dad's big ear smiley guy."
That's
And
awesome.
he just cranked a couple out in the past few years. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah, my dad's a doodler too. He would always draw this like witch's face with the super long nose and like a wart.
You should keep one of those on file.
I know, I should.
Yeah, we need to get some of your dad's art in this house.
I know so like my sister Erin went to like Copenhagen and then to Paris one trip, like, and had just the time of her life and like fell in love with Copenhagen. And my dad like painted her a picture of the skyline. Actually, he painted her a picture of Paris first. And then Kelly and I just like in passing, like talked about how she really, or like Kelly or some of us, we just like made him feel like he should have picked the other city to paint because she liked it more. So then he painted over Paris. And then there was a picture of like these row houses and buildings in Copenhagen. And you can see like the outline of the Eiffel Tower behind it.
Yeah, you can still kind of see Paris in it.
But my dad would
What type of
always
paint?
do that. He would paint over everything. Like I remember he'd make like really incredible landscapes most of the time. And then a lot of times he would do like, he'd paint something and then he'd just take Sharpies and start making like squares on it, like all over. And then mess around with like different types of pens over the colors and...
It's cool.
And yeah, I remember when I was like a little girl, we would just like lay on our floor and sit and share like a coloring book, you know? He was just like, that was always something we did together for
Amazing.
sure.
Yeah.
But
What
yeah,
kind of paint did he like to use?
he used, I think, acrylics most of the time. I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Yeah, he painted a lot.
Does he
There was
still,
none of
like,
that in
last
my
time
house.
he's painted, you think?
Well, actually, Paul, bless his heart, was like bringing up an activity that his family's done in the past.
Jeff
where-
was there. Jeff,
Oh, shoot. Well, the little night where you guys all painted a part of the canvas.
when we did
Yeah,
a big
that was
canvas
fun.
together after the party.
We did a really good job that time.
Yeah,
sure did.
it's a great group activity. This one we were going balls to the walls because we had like a lot of people with high energy on board.
Because we had Kelly's stepkids there, so they're like teenagers. So it was like, but it was fun.
We
It was
splattered.
super fun.
They filled like eggs and threw eggs on it, and like it just went crazy.
Yeah, like the first thing we did, I took the canvas and I like was in the backyard and like hid behind it, and then they filled eggshells with paint and threw them at it. That's how it started.
Not like actual eggs. Just
The like empty eggshells.
like they'd been used. So
used
yeah,
eggshells, but they put and then threw it, and then yeah, we just got weird and painted it up, and then one was like, I got a like video game controller that's broken, like let's smash it, and like we'll put that on there, and like it was fun. I loved it, and it was like it was a bonding experience.
I don't know what my dad did when we were there,
dad
but he
did not
picked up.
participate,
He
though.
picked up his own canvas though. I saw him working on something, but I never saw what it was.
So funny.
See, this is like I haven't been paying attention, but yeah, he's like doesn't even want to keep him around. Just always paints over him because he thinks the old one's bad.
Yeah,
It's
we
a
gotta
good
get-
holiday activity for sure. That fucking
Yeah, it's a great.
That was
group
so
activity.
fun when we did that at my parents' house.
Yeah, and actually, when we went to Mexico last with like Lau and Nico and Juli, more names to block out. Sorry,
No,
yeah.
whatever. I don't plan on blocking any of these names out.
Well, Lau like always brings a journal and like colored pencils with her, which I totally never even realized that you should pack that on every vacation so you can draw. Like it's so smart and doesn't take up any space. Like it's just perfect.
Yeah,
so
it
I'm
was
gonna
an
do
artsy
that.
trip. Yeah.
We
What were you
made
gonna
so
say,
much
Jeff?
art.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to bleep all my swear words. I would love it if you did. It'd be funny to hear all the bleeps, to be honest.
Bleeps.
Oh man,
We could like count them. You know,
We
let's
had-
go on a bleep count.
we
You
had
do it over my mouth like a censored. Like
yeah. People aren't even gonna see you make them.
It should
make
just
it.
be like your faces and illustrations coming out of your mouth as it bleeps out.
yeah, you should just have like drawings just.
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out.
The drawings
Yeah.
are just like
That-
I will.
all
I'm
over
no
it.
Zach Barr. Okay.
Zach Barr sent me some clips. I think I got some stuff.
More
waiting.
than what you
shit.
showed us?
Yeah, I think he's made some advancements.
I want to hire him to do like a music video or something because I'm
Let's
sure he can
like
do all
let it-
sorts of.
Don't get in the way of the shit he's doing.
I won't. I'm gonna wait till you're done with him, and when you're done with him, I get
Once
next.
I have them all used up.
Zach
all
Bar,
of
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Zach
once you
Bar,
use
get
it.
your Zach Bar.
Yeah, get your Zach Bar. Get your Zach Bar.
Cool.
Here, I'll show you a little sneak preview of what Zach's got going with.
Preview.
Did you see it already?
Nope.
Sweet. Okay. Dude.
Yeah, that's so nice. It's like
This is not things
it's like Nightmare
capable
Before
of.
Christmassy meets
It's so trippy too.
like
so
James
for,
and the Giant Peach for sure. It's
for anyone
so cool.
just listening, this is one of Jeff's pieces that is like super intricate detail, and so it zooms in on the detail, and then they all start kind of moving, and people's noses are growing.
Richard Scary-esque. It
Yeah,
just
Richard
keeps, it's like a
Scary-esque.
busy town. It's fun. It's a fun little busy town world you make. I love them. I think that's always my favorite. That's definitely like what I think of when I think of your art. Although I know I don't mean to box you into one category, but
That's really cool because I have a book by Richard Scarry that's just, I like old children's book illustrations for sure as an influence.
it's fun.
So when you talk about like, how to release your art, galleries are sort of maybe not the avenue to go. And you were saying like a book. Is that a coffee table book kind of a thing? Is that like a children's book? Like what do you, or do you not even think in these terms?
No, I may have shown you when you were at my house. The reason I'm looking into the horizon right now is because my bookshelf is right behind the computer. And there are a couple children's books that I have that are, but the way that they're bound, it's a hardcover book with maybe 30 pages. And there's like a different colored cover than the back, and the side is a different, it's interesting how you can, like, if this person could produce that. Granted, I think it was on like a really major publisher's, like, I don't know what it costs to produce something that's so customized, in a hardcover format. But that's a goal of mine, would be to be on like Penguin Books or something, like some major publisher that children's books are made with, and have just some kind of weirdly whimsical Nightmare Before Christmas-esque, like, as you said, because my world that I make is sort of, it's magical, but also like has a kind of spooky edge to it. And if I could get that to the masses, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's like easy.
Not
like,
as a coffee table book. Sorry, just to answer your question, more as a children's book.
More of like something story. With
Exactly.
Story. I see.
Man, this is not the first time I've thought of you making a storybook. I wanted to write kids books, and I was like, Jeff could illustrate it. Like, I've had that thought before too. So I think you should, whether it's my book that I bring to you and then say, can you illustrate, or if it's yours. But it could be something like, I'm imagining like the Shel Silverstein books, where it's just like a bunch of, would you ever put like text to it, or would this just be illustrations? How does that work?
Yeah. No, that was the plan. And Shel Silverstein's a huge influence of mine growing up and whatnot. So,
I think you guys are similar in your way to like evoke things through like the drawing. His is pretty like simple and stuff. Like I can imagine a lot of those people and characters and images like as some of the ones that you incorporate into your big face or cloud or flower or whatever,
Yeah, no, I actually did some stuff that was a little more just line-based characters when I was in high school. And shout out to Mr. Black, high school art teacher.
Mr. Black.
But he helped point out like, hey, this is pretty cool to me.
So wait, the text, you're going to do the words or pictures?
Oh yeah, I have I kind of have a little concept already, and I'm going to have a lot of personal things injected into it, like by the names and kind of characters. Like,
Kendra.
no, like the name of one of the characters is Merle, like in honor of my uncle in a way. It's like
Nice.
I talk about the kid in the story's uncle being named Merle, and he's photographed these images that are in an album that become the basis of the story. And my uncle was a photographer, and he named his dog Merle, and he was friends with Merle Watson, as you know, and just a cool.
Oh, Doc
Hey,
Watson's
lovely,
name
Jeff.
is Merle?
Doc's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
so
like a nice
Doc
story,
and
man.
Merle had albums together, and my uncle was like especially close with him. And then after Merle passed away, on like at a way too young, he remained friends with Doc and whatnot. But it started with Merle, and I didn't get all the stories, you know, but I know that it was significant, like that friendship. Like my mom was friends with them too.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Doc Watson was like a folk singer, blind folk. Would you call him a bluegrass singer or a folk singer?
I think more of a folk artist, but
Folk artist. He played
incredible
guitar and
guitarist, more than just a singer.
Yeah,
He had
sorry,
great
yeah.
voice.
That's
Oh
true.
yeah, I know, but a blind like virtuoso on the guitar too.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, hey, maybe we'll wrap this up. I mean, we can keep talking, but we'll end the show.
I want you to make that children's book, please.
I don't know how
I
you
want to
edit
hear more
your
of
show,
that.
but yeah, it'd be fun
It's going to
see
be
you
long.
talk
I mean, it just runs. Like I'll cut out when Jesse came. I'll cut for a moment. We'll see what happens with that. But it's just going to go. I don't know. Like my goal with this is that it's a thing. If it catches on, like, and it's just a thing I just set up and talk. You know, like there's no real effort to it other than just having a fun time. Then like if I can become successful at that, then all I have to do is keep doing that. Like that's what I want to do, you know? So I'm just gonna, it's like dress for the job you want, you know? Like I'm just gonna throw these out there because I'd like to eventually be able to just throw them out there and have people listen. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of editing that goes into it. Or like not a lot of tricks, you know? Well, you'll see. You'll see when this
like-
episode drops.
like some office hours.
Yeah, kind of office hours, you know, all of that.
I could watch you just kick it for like the whole day. Like have the option. If I could just the Paul channel on. Yeah, I heard you guys have a lot of
There'd be
cameras set up
people.
around the house.
Well, at the moment, actually, we just have one. Christine was
Christine
lying.
said the house is just like
Christine was lying. I started
Well,
setting up other
okay,
cameras, but
that's
then I
true.
realized I didn't charge the other cameras. I'm like, fuck. So
I
then I was
was- I
like,
was
it's a
told
one
there'd
camera
be other
shoot.
cameras,
Yeah,
but
she
I-
was told there'd be other cameras, and there usually is. Usually it's a 3-camera deal. But anyway, it'll be cool too when the pandemic's over to get more people here in person. Like it's
Yeah, that'll be
Zoom
nice.
is a good workaround, but in person I think is always going to be more fun too.
imagine what if we were having an art session in person
Yeah,
on the
That sounds
podcast.
so
That would-
Yeah.
good.
that's
Yeah, we
kind of
should.
the dream.
Hey, what about an art session like podcast where you show the art that's happening and if there's like some kind of thing going on with it, like
That's
a
cool.
feat or something? Or
Yeah.
We could have you on as a part 2 and have it the art podcast. Like we
I mean,
talk
yeah,
about art a lot,
we'll
but this
definitely
one
have you
we're
on
making
again.
art.
Yeah.
I
Well,
could just
we
make
have-
my own Bob Ross.
Yeah. Well, we talked also like, you know,
Yes.
it'd be fun if everyone's sitting around just we're shooting the shit and everyone just kind of making like everyone has a notebook and like, you know, you can make art while we talk and while we hang out. Excuse me. And then at the end, like I think that was the first burp on the podcast. And then you know, we like show the art at the end or whatever. It's just it just kind of helps make it feel more casual too. We did that with Sarah. I was kind of doodling and she was making a lino cut. But anyway.
Right
This
on.
will be interesting to take a look at. I got to say, we got into some subjects and stuff. So
Yeah, dude, this was super fun.
It's all out there.
And I want to
Cards
take
on
this
the table.
opportunity to say I love you so much and I cherish you in my life. And thanks for being my friend.
Hey, I love you too, Paul. You're one of my best friends ever, and you're like a brother to me. We used to beat up on each other as kids, and
We did.
I helped you do your household chores a couple of times. You know, we got some good memories.
That's funny. What household chores did you help me do?
You just always had chores like wiping handprints off the walls and stuff. And I remember helping you.
I felt like I was the only kid
Well,
with
'cause
chores.
you put handprints on the walls, you know? Like,
No, there was 3 like rowdy boys that aren't even wearing their shoes out.
there's probably like footprints on the ceiling.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. Like Atlanta.
Like a
Yeah.
big fish memory, like back in the Paul Brisky residence.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, Big Fish or Real Fish? That's the movie.
Big Fish.
Big
Tim
Fish.
Burton.
I was
Real Big
actually,
Fish is the band.
Well, okay, I always mix those up.
Me too.
Big Fish is one of my favorite movies of all time. And actually, when we were talking about the circus, I like was envisioning that favorite scene where like the popcorn stops
Yeah.
in the sky and like time stops.
Yeah, that's the best version
It's
of a
the
circus.
best
That's
thing.
as good as circus.
That's the
as get.
romanticized notion that I
Yeah.
have. But then you read like, no water for elephants or whatever, and you realize
The thing with the animals in the
Sounds like
circus, it's the most boring part. Like the horse comes out and like jumps over something. Like who gives a fuck? The trapeze and like the gymnastics, like that's the show, Like so, like why are we torturing animals anyway? Like just get more
I
gymnasts.
mean, is it torture if a horse has to come in and jump over something, or
Well, it's torture if a horse has to be like transported across the country in a trailer and not get to just run around and be a horse. I mean,
Yeah,
that horse
I agree.
doesn't want to do that. That's torture. That's like if that was a human, you'd call that a slave,
I think there's
they're getting
arguments
paid
about
in
the
apples
training
and
techniques
stuff.
and things like that too. Like with elephants, is too. The super smart animals, and you see them like walking on their tippy toes. There's like
Yeah.
some kind of abuse like made it want to do that or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even like zoos. How do you feel about zoos?
I'm not a big fan of zoos. I think it depends on the creature. Sometimes the level of compassion I have for its like captivity.
enough.
Like that sounds rude, but like, I guess I
No,
feel
no,
less
that's
bad when I see
true.
a snake behind glass than when I see like certain
tiger.
other creatures. Yeah,
Yeah.
the cats, the big cats in Lincoln Park Zoo are kind of pretty sad to look at. My aunts did a little photo series of the cats there, and
Oh,
they
wow.
just look so cooped up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm anti-zoo. I would love to see zoos go away.
The only time that a zoo sounds okay to me is if it's because the animal was like needed somewhere to.
But even
cover.
then, though, does that animal then have to like hear screaming children all day and be in this like high stress environment?
right,
Or
you're right.
couldn't they just like
Thank
be
you.
put
Here's
somewhere
another
else?
thing to think about. What happens when we've completely destroyed all these habitats and they literally have nowhere else to go? Because
Well,
that
I'm
is
against
happening.
That too.
So what if you? Sometimes that means they get vets looking after them. They get meal insurance. I understand it takes some
but
of the
there's
wild
there's
out.
got to be a better way than
Well,
to put
yeah,
them
like
put them surrounded by
stopping
screaming children.
deforestation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sanctuary concept of just giving them like space to roam and live without being like
On display.
Yeah, and you can still feed them, give them vet treatment, breed to help the species stay alive.
But the reality of it is those animals eat tons of meat on a weekly basis. The costs are out of control. So what happens is you have a zoo,
Yeah, it
an
would have to be
institution
government
like a
funded or
zoo
something.
that has to come on and do fundraising and host and sell tickets and do all the ugly sides of it because ultimately they can't afford anything else.
I'm not saying it's easy, and like all things, it's
I'm
a
not even
paradox.
saying
Zoos
pro
are good
zoo.
and bad. There's those good things that zoos do, but that to me that doesn't feel like the way it should happen.
Early
like
on when I dated
for
Paul,
example,
he like
pandas.
what about him?
Well, like an endangered species that they're trying
Oh
to.
yeah, mate and
trying
stuff,
to-
and like
yeah,
get
exactly.
to have yeah. I mean, it's still. I mean, some people would say no, like they'd rather let them face their odds in the wild.
That's
That's what
I
you're
would
saying.
rather face my odds if I was a what the fuck.
Thank you.
Oh,
When
mail
I
just showed
started
up.
dating Paul, he like made a point to say that we were like not gonna have kids that had pets in tanks.
I don't like fish and fish
Like
tanks.
he's like no
a fish in a fish tank. It makes me sad. There's no life.
I had
for
a
an
fish
animal.
tank. I had a fish tank
Yeah,
as a
well.
kid, and I liked it. It only made me feel bad when we had a little baby shark in there that ate some of the other fish, and then I'd be like, "Oh, but the fish."
I poured all the fish food into the tank one day, and that we had to do a like Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo deal where they're all like in different like random jars and stuff. And then no fish was harmed in this scenario, but it was just like I felt like I was doing a good thing. I was just a little kid and I poured like all the fish food in there.
That's funny. Yeah, they need less than you think.
Yeah. Well, anyway, great show, everybody. Thank you so much, Jeff Specs at Jeff Specs Art on Instagram.
Definitely check it out.
Just at Jeff Specs.
Sorry, at Jeff Specs.
It's not about that. It's just been a pleasure hanging out with you both.
Hey.
Yeah, you too, Jeff.
You're always welcome. They're always welcome on our show. This is going to be, I think, episode 3. Even though I said that during the Tato podcast, I realized. But the one that was just me and you, I'm going to cut
this is episode 2.
Oh, shit. Well, we'll see.
We shall see.
Well,
I look forward to, there's like scary stuff happening in your house. Like people.
Well, there's like people are never here. Now there's like all these people showing up.
Take care of yourself. Make sure everything's all right. Check in the pantry and stuff. And
yeah, we'll sweep the house.
You too. Turn your heat back on. I don't want you freezing over there.
Yeah, turn that heat back on. The Chicago winter is brutal.